Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hello there. Welcome to the program. It's the beginning of a new week, and it is the 21st of July, 2025. 6 months, I think, to the day into the second go-round with President Donald J. Trump. Let's not talk about him. at least in as much as as we can avoid it. He's doing his thing today, throwing out shiny objects to distract from all the things he doesn't want us thinking about or talking about. And I don't want to go there, at least if I don't have to. So let's not. Good God, somebody that graduated from high school with me sent me photos of our high school reunion that was held, I guess, last week. I was not there. This one was the 59th as opposed to the 60th because so many, I guess, were dropping dead. They didn't want to wait another year. So, so first of all, I only knew two people in the photos. I mean, I didn't even recognize names. And the two people that I vaguely remembered, I was not close to. So it's a good thing I didn't go. I didn't know anybody there. But I'll tell you what, God almighty, some of them look so unbelievably old. It is beyond belief. Oh my God. I mean, I guess you could have all the cosmetic surgery you want, keep yourself up and going and stuff. But then you see the guys you went to high school with, and they act as this, truth telling of where you really are in the span of years generally given to us Homo sapiens. Oh my God. I mean, just a bunch of old people. So I guess I would have fit right in. I just don't see myself that way. It's too funny. Or not. Oh my God. Oh, and speaking of high schools, I came upon this piece about a private school, high school in eastern Pennsylvania, outside of Philly, called Cheltenham High School. Don't know if you heard of it. And how there's a bit of a brouhaha there because at that school they actually have a hall of fame or a wall of fame where they put the pictures up of people who have graduated from that high school who have become really, I guess, noteworthy people. And I was thinking, some of us, did anyone from your high school become a noteworthy person? I mean, I'm talking like presidents, prime ministers, Nobel Prize winners, Pulitzer Prize winners, that kind of thing. Or just, I guess, major celebrities. Did anybody, I mean, my high school, I was thinking, I mean, you can just, it doesn't have to be your class, but just, could there even be a wall of fame at Green Bay East High? I don't think so. I mean, I was trying to think, I mean, I don't know who'd be on yours. Like if you went to like a big city, uh, public school like Alderdice, Taylor Alderdice here, um, I would imagine you could have a wall of fame. A lot of people who went on to great success pass through there, I would think. But anyway, so not my high school. The only two I could think of, well, I don't know. I think the only one would be the actor Tony Shalhoub, who starred in Monk and Mrs. Maisel. He went, he graduated from Green Bay East. Um, I think about 6 years after me, or maybe even a little longer than that. And I I think one governor of Wisconsin, if that even counts, went there. A guy named Reynolds, and otherwise nobody um, that I'm aware of. So, I mean, if you have to explain who they are, then that it's not. So, anyway, back to Cheltenham outside of Philly. I don't have to, explain who is on their wall because you know the names, and two in particular you would definitely know. And there's a brouhaha now about removing one of them. I guess it's not Jeffrey Epstein, but see, you could see how it could be somebody like Jeffrey Epstein, right? Um, no, graduated from Cheltenham High School outside of Philly. Benjamin Netanyahu. Yeah, I'm looking at his high school picture. Benjamin Netanyahu. And there's some people now who want him off. They're not proud of him anymore, and they want him out. Um, the other person who was on the wall before Benjamin Netanyahu, that's pretty impressive, is Reggie Jackson, also graduated from that that high school. You know, I mean, he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame, which is slightly better than the Cheltenham High Wall. But Yeah. And then the other guy that isn't on it yet, and there's some people who are, it shows how politicized everything is now, is the right wing podcaster Mark Levin. And he has made a thing about how the woke folk at Cheltenham High School would never put me up on the wall. And of course, they want to take Netanyahu down. They also have Netanyahu's brother up, Jonathan Netanyahu, who belongs there, who is a true hero, who was the commander, I guess, of the Israeli special forces unit that went into Entebbe and in Uganda and rescued all those people that were held hostage on an airplane um, by well, hijackers and terrorists. And he was killed. He was the only person, only rescuer killed. I don't think any hostages were killed either, but that was Netanyahu's older brother. And I think he, in many ways, rode the name and the admiration that his brother had created in Israel to where his power is. Maybe I've said that before. To the powerful position he's now. Anyway, But just, putting in your head, so who would be on your high school wall of fame, if anybody? Um, it's interesting sometimes that extraordinary people come out of just, seemingly nowhere. They don't have to come out of big cities. And the only other person I can think that I would put from my high school, but again, I have to explain who she is, so it doesn't really work, is a woman who I know who graduated 3 years before me. Her name is Alexandra Rose, and she was the producer of that wonderful movie starring Sally Fields, Norma Ray, about the labor organizer, about a union organizing in a southern factory. And I think that is such a good movie. And yeah, Alex Rose, who I always thought had the coolest name. I wanted her name. I was Lynn Miller. I wanted to be Alex Rose. And she was beautiful too. Yeah, she had it all. So those are my, that's it. I got nothing much to brag about for my high school. Um, Robert's telling me the founder of the Heritage Foundation died this past weekend. Yeah, I saw that. I didn't recognize his name as somebody that I knew of, and I didn't bother to read the obit because the Heritage Foundation has, done so much damage, I think. I don't think initially it was that extreme, but that's pretty much where Project 2025 came out of. So I think of them as the folks who brought fascism to America, and I don't think kindly of them. So when they die, I think, good. If you can't move things forward in a positive way, if your legacy is bringing democracy to its knees, I don't laud you. Um, okay. Like so often happens on Mondays, yes, I am going to, just sort of skitter around the big stories, I think. Oh, good. Ellen's writing in about some of her notable classmates or people who graduated from her high school. Because I mean, as I said, I have zero bragging rights. Ellen says, I was lucky enough to attend a private high school in the New York City area. Okay, so you're going to have some. Because my dad became the business administrator there. We had a number of notable graduates, Chris Berman and Keith Olbermann. I graduated in the year between them. Okay. There were also others, Peter Strauss, the actor. Okay, I remember him. A congressman whose name I can't remember. And one of the hosts on Turner Classic Movies, Dave Harger. He does the film noir stuff. Uh, well, that's pretty good, Ellen. As I said, I'll take your Oberman and Berman and Strauss, and I'll just play my one Tony Shalhoub. That's all I got. Um, but anybody else, let me know. If your high school had a wall of fame. So, let's see. Um, Sports. I mentioned Reggie Jackson already. Let's move into football from baseball. Because I came upon, and maybe you did too, An interesting little sports story. Oh, wait a minute. I got me a call. Hang on. Hang on. Let's take a phone call. Uh, hello?
Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
Nice to talk with you.
Thank you.
I can relate to two things that you've already spoken about. Number one, my 60th high school reunion was recently, and I graduated from Alderdice. And I will get to the Taylor Alderdice Hall of Fame or Wall of Fame in a minute. But I wanted to say I did not go to my 60th reunion. I did look at the photos, though, and all I could think of was just what you said. Who are these old people? I couldn't believe how aged they look. They looked, and I thought, wow, I went to high school with these people. I didn't recognize most of them, and even when I read the names, because they had name tags on, I thought, who were these kids? Did I go to school with them? It was so weird.
Isn't it?
Um,
Yeah.
it really is. I also wanted to mention that Taylor Alderdice has a wall of fame. Did your son graduate from Alderdice?
No, he did not.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I thought he might have.
No,
But
no.
at any rate, they have Wall of Fame ceremonies one day a year. Some of the people that have been honored that are Alderdice graduates are Billy Porter,
Mm-hmm.
Curtis Martin,
Yeah.
and I remember the Curtis Martin story was just fascinating. How he came to go to Alderdice. He kept telling his mom he wasn't gonna play professional football. He wasn't gonna play football at Pitt. He's in the Football Hall of Fame, I believe, and
Yeah.
he just didn't want to do any of those things.
Huh.
So what they do at the ceremony, and it is worth going to the ceremony. They have it once a year, and every year there are people that are nominated to this Wall of Fame. Um, the people who are honored come to Alderdice and spend a day there, and the students get to know them.
Mm-hmm.
Each honoree is introduced at an assembly at night, and the assemblies are very, very well attended. There are a lot of people that come to the assemblies. These students are so poised as they talk about an honoree that they've just met that day. That, to me, is just so amazing at how poised high school students can be talking to a group of people about somebody that they
Sure.
just met. And then each honoree gets to speak. And they've had doctors, lawyers. It's just amazing the people that are honored there.
I bet. I
It is
mean, I would imagine
worthwhile.
Taylor Alderdice would have, I would imagine you'd have scientists and yeah, big big shots would have come out of
Right.
there. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, they did. So it's just a suggestion. I can let you know when the next Hall of Fame ceremony happens.
Okay.
If you're interested in attending, it is very worthwhile.
Okay.
Just
All right.
fascinating.
Thank
Amazing
you.
honorees are. You're welcome.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye. Bye. So, yeah, would be no such thing at Green Bay East, I'll tell you that. Not. Um, okay. Now where was I going? Jonathan says, "Oh, you're right, Jonathan. If I screw anything up with TCM, he's gonna Jonathan will know. I said Dave Harger did Noir Alley, and no, Eddie Muller is the guest. Dave Carger is a primetime host on the other nights." And Jonathan said, "How dare you, Lynn, get anything wrong about TCM?" I totally defer to Jonathan on TCM. Totally. Um, Robert is saying Wiz Khalifa, Taylor Alderdice. Okay, that's a recent one. I mean, we only are thinking of these recent ones. I'm wondering about people from, who are now long gone, who might have graduated from there in the, in the 20s and 30s and 40s. I would imagine Alderdice would have this really extraordinary list of people, as would as would other Pittsburgh high schools. I think, Peabody and Westinghouse, and I don't know what I'm forgetting here because, I didn't go to school here, would also have astonishing and impressive lists, if you would. So anyway, I was saying football. That's what I was saying, and came upon this interesting article because I saw a picture of a guy who I do know because he's from here and he played football with the Steelers, Lynn Swann. And the New York Times sports section had a full page piece that was built around Lynn Swann. It's not like he's played anytime recently, um, but it's an article about how dance is probably the best preparation for being a football player that you can have. And I'm talking classical dance. I'm talking ballet. And it turns out that Lynn Swann, whose catches were often said to be balletic, right, had taken ballet as a kid. In fact, he took ballet, he took tap dance, he took jazz, and he did all of that as a kid before he ever got into playing any sports. He was a dance kid, and it's not that he had necessarily wanted to. His mom pushed him in that direction because she thought it would use up some of the extraordinary energy he exhibited, and in fact, it it did. But the more he learned dance, the more he loved it. And he was in musical theater shows. He danced in West Side Story. He loved performing for an audience. And even when he did start playing football in high school, he still continued dance classes. And he is quoted in the article as saying, I did feel more comfortable on the dance floor than the football field. And he only stopped dance classes when the Steelers drafted him in 74. So all through college, he continued dancing and learning dance. He must have been a marvelous. I mean, you can't take ballet and tap and all those things for that long and have his, extraordinary athletic skills, obviously his body, and not, whoa, he must have been wonderful. And he has said, I would never have been the player I was. The body control I had, the balance, all of that came from dance. So the article is about how people who look at this kind of thing from a sort of scientific bent are seeing that that is absolutely true, and that football players who have a background in dance, and there are not a lot of them, are injured far less because they know their bodies better. And one of the experiments that was done to prove that dance is a good idea for football players is this researcher got a bunch of football players and a bunch of dancers together, and she had them all do the same thing, jump off a platform using just one leg. And she was looking at which parts of their body they used as they did this one-legged jump. And the athletes, they took all the impact of the landing on their knees, and then their upper bodies would fall forward. Every single one of them. The dancers, that is not how they landed at all. The dancers all landed on their toes and then softened the impact with their ankles. And then their knees came in, number 3, and then their hips. And they maintained a relatively straight body position throughout the landing rather than pitching forward, which puts more stress on the knee and the ACL, yada, yada, yada. They knew how to land. So studies like this have confirmed what a lot of folks who look at training and what is the best kind of training for athletes suspected. The dance. People who know dance are going to be better athletes. They're going to be looser. They're going to use their entire body better, and they're going to have fewer injuries. And the article goes on to say that in the current NFL, the Lions have a defensive end, Aiden Hutchinson, who says all of my spin moves, all of the flexibility I bring to my position come from my background in competitive hip hop and ballet. Oh, there's another one. Just saying. So it's a full page article that just zeroes in on Lynn Swann as the obvious person you would hold up. Swann is quoted as saying, "In dance, the end of the first move is always connected to the beginning of your next move. And that's for it all to be smooth and to flow and to seem effortless. And when you look at how he looks on the football field, it's all there. Exactly that." He also says he remembered leaving a high school football practice with a pair of tights and dance shoes often, and not caring if anybody gave him crap about it. He said, "My dance training has allowed me to develop a style that is pretty much my own, something that's different from most other players. And besides that," he said, "the dance, it was great fun." So there you have it. Lynn Hines, who also made remember when he ran for governor? He did, ran for governor of PA. I have a vague memory of that as a Republican. Didn't get anywhere. Watchman is saying Peabody High School did have, a few. Gene Kelly. Whoa. Frank Gorshin. Yeah. Fritz Weaver, another great actor. And etc. Wow. I can imagine. Well, a lot of people in the arts, right, at Peabody. A lot of musicians came out of there. great musicians. Milton says famous Central Catholic grads: Reg Cordick, Dan Marino, Zachary Quinto, the actor. And then he went on to CMU, didn't he? I didn't know he was a Pittsburgher. I thought he just came here for CMU. Billy Hillgrove went to Damar Hamlin, the Bills player that had that cardiac arrest, and Tom Savini, the makeup artist. Yeah. Well, there you go. All right, come on, some of you other guys. More Central Catholic. August Wilson? No, he's saying he went there. I think just for he didn't graduate from high school, did he? He left. They didn't. Is that where he was accused of plagiarizing a paper he wrote at Central Catholic? Because that's what made him say screw you, and he walked out and just educated himself at the library. Soon to be mayor, Corey O'Connor. Well, okay. So a lot of those people are people who stayed, well, not a lot of them, but who stayed in Pittsburgh. And Watchman says Savini still lives in Bloomfield. I've seen him more than once. Talked to him briefly. Cool guy. Yeah. Well, did he do most of it? I mean, he must have worked beyond George Romero, but we know him here mostly, right, as Romero's makeup guy. But I don't know. And also at Central Catholic, 20 notable, Milton says, pro athletes. Okay. Well, there you have it. I say, I got Tony Shalhoub, Green Bay East. Just saying. Okay, so, yes. Okay, wait. That's right. And it said so in the article, I think. Jill is saying, did you remember that Lynn Swann was on an episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood dancing in a ballet class? Susan says that. Yeah, 'tis true. Indeed. And Barbara says Howard Feynman went to Alderdice. He was a journalist, I guess still is. He was at Newsweek for a long time. And what else we got here? Joe says, I graduated with half a season starting quarterback at Penn State, and a friend of mine and classmate was put to death by the state of Arizona. He said, this is all said from my sockless big toe. All right, Joe. Friend of mine and a classmate, really a friend of yours, was executed in Arizona? Really? I mean, I have often, asked, I have not often, every once in a while, trying to avoid talking about the horror of the news, I've asked, do any of you have you been close to somebody who was convicted of murder? Do you have friends who are murderers? Which I would have at a certain point in my life, I would have thought, what? And it turns out that I do have, I would say, two people I consider friends who have been convicted of murder. I didn't know them when they did the deeds. I met them later after they'd, whatever, matured a little more. But yeah, that is something I would have never thought I would know. But it's good to broaden your base of friends. I think, you know, people go through life and have different experiences. Milton says Lynn Swann ran for governor, and thought maybe his proximity to whiteness would translate into political capital. His platform was all welfare reform and right to work. Shortest gubernatorial campaign ever. Well, his ballet didn't help him with that. And Mary says August Wilson lasted 2 weeks at Central Catholic. It wasn't for him, and it worked out fabulously. Right. He didn't need no Central Catholic. God. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. People's lives. Interesting stuff. I thank all of you for giving me all this info. It's fun. This is a little darker, but it's sort of in the same vein because I was reading this really rough article, but fascinating, because I don't know about you, but I have down on my driver's license that if, I end up dead, that if there's any organs I have that are still functional and might help somebody, they can have them. So yeah, I'm down as an organ donor. So there was an article this weekend about nightmare things that have happened when overly zealous organ procurement folks wanting someone's organs have gone in when the person is still alive. The donor ain't dead. A few people, very few, have lived to tell the tale. Most end up dead, but weren't really when their organs were harvested. And this article, it has a big Pittsburgh connection that I want to get to, but it's because I always thought that, brain death is the thing. As soon as, you flatline there, you're dead and you can go in. But that is not the only way of declaring somebody dead. And there is something called, what is it called? Circulatory death. And that's where a lot of mistakes apparently are happening. So the New York Times did this and ended up talking to 55 medical workers in 19 states around the country, all of whom told the New York Times they had witnessed at least one really disturbing case of donation after circulatory death had been declared. For instance, a recent federal investigation that was prompted by a case of a Kentucky man whose organs were pursued even as he shook his head and drew his knees to his chest. My God! And that federal investigation found that just in Kentucky, that the procurement organization, the people who are charged with going in and getting organs, found that Kentucky's procurement organization had ignored signs of consciousness in 73 potential donors. Oh my God. There are stories here that'll curl your hair. I'll give you one. Donella Gallegos. She was 38 years old and this is 3 years ago, 2022, and she was not in a good place. She was homeless, and she went into a coma and was hospitalized. The doctors at Presbyterian Hospital in Albuquerque, New Mexico, told her family that she would never recover and asked her relatives to sign off on donating her organs. And her relatives agreed, and her sisters were sitting with her in this room, but until they came to get her. And all of this is pieced together from interviews with the family and 8 workers at the hospital. So there's a lot of people agreeing to this story. And the sisters noticed that she had tears in her eyes. And they said, wait a minute, she's crying. She's got tears in her eyes. She's not dead. And the sisters were told, no. That is just a reflex. Tears, we see that often. It doesn't mean anything. So the sisters are holding her hands and waiting, and a doctor comes in to take her off life support. And then a sister said, I think I saw her move. The doctor says, could you blink your eyes? And she blinked her eyes. Still, the folks from the procurement organization wanted the doctor to move on and yank her life support. They continued saying, these are just reflexes. And they said, what? Give her some morphine to reduce the movements. Of course, the morphine would help sedate her, so there wouldn't be any way she could let people know she was alive. And thank God this doctor said no. A lot of doctors, according to this article, acquiesce. This doctor refused. They brought her back to her room, and I'm looking at a picture of her. She made a full recovery. She came that close to being killed for her organs. Now, it turns out that this idea of circulatory death used to be forbidden. And that changed in the 1990s, and it changed because of something that happened at UPMC, University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. And that is where this began, circulatory death being allowed. It says here that a dying patient at UPMC asked her doctors to remove her from life support and donate her organs. And she was not brain dead at all. They unhooked her, and her death was a result of her heart stopping and circulation then stopping. So the hospital honored that and then spent 2 years, it says here, creating guidelines for how a doctor announces that that death has occurred, even though the brain is functioning. And there's a picture here of a guy who was here at Pittsburgh, Dr. Michael DeVita, and he led the writing of these original protocols for circulatory death donors. And he said at the time he was worried about potential abuse in the system. Well, guys, this article suggests that abuse is here. And it's because of a growing clamor for more and more donors. And I don't know, just saying. I'm reading the article and freaking out about all of it, and then see that it all happened right here. That it was at UPMC that this determination of death came out of the shadows, out of the forbidden territory, and into what is now common practice. So, just letting you know. I like to find things that are going on, and somebody sent me this, but we missed it because it was July 12th, and I got news for you. It's been and gone. It's July 21st, but I want to share it with you what this was. That was. Hang on, I've got the picture of it here. Here it is. This was Saturday from 7 till 11 p.m. in Crafton, and I'm looking at a picture of a guy bowling. And so this thing was at Crafton Ingram Lanes. You know what it was? It's called Balls Out Bowling. It's hosted by the Pittsburgh area naturists. And in order to be there, you have to, not have clothes on while you bowl. So that happened July 12th. Just saying. It says balls out bowling, no clothes, no shame, just strikes, spares, and smiles. My God, I guess this has happened before, but I don't know how. I never heard of it. So we missed that one. I'm just saying, and I'm sorry. Oh, and something else. Remember we were talking about Paul Long and how he was a pilot, and he piloted his own plane, and I had the not so great opportunity to fly with him. I was terrified. And then somebody mentioned that he had crashed his plane. The story goes that he crashed his plane and went up to the house whose yard he'd crashed into, and when they opened the door, said, hello, I'm Paul Long. I've crashed my plane. I wonder if I could use your phone. And the story goes that they slammed the door in his face, saying, "No, we watch Bill Burns." It's a good story, but it's not true. Okay. But Chris sent me, and everybody say a prayer for Chris. Chris sent me this and then said that they are undergoing triple bypass surgery, I think tomorrow. So say a prayer. But Chris found this article, and it's not the whole article, so it cuts out in a place that I can't give you the whole information, but it's a riot. It is, and I don't know what paper it's from. And it says plane down in North Park, in North something, in Huntington Heights, North Huntington Heights. And I'll read you some of this. A well-known Pittsburgh radio and television announcer, his son, and another passenger escaped injury last night when their plane made a forced landing in the front yard of a home in Huntington Heights, Huntington Township. Paul Long, the pilot, who along with his son Chris, age 12, and Bill Kelly, a KDKA salesman, were en route from New York City, where Long had broadcast the Pirate-Mets baseball game. Now listen to this. The plane, a Cessna 180, had gotten clearance for 6,000 feet when the engine suddenly developed trouble and quit, apparently because of frozen fuel lines. The plane nosed down on Karen Drive, tore out some power lines, glanced off an automobile, ripped off one landing gear, and came to rest in the front yard of Mr. and Mrs. Kenneth Hand. Before stopping, the plane tore off a second landing gear while taking out several concrete blocks in the Hand driveway, knocking down 2 small trees and a lamppost, and bending the wrought iron porch railing with the left wingtip. In addition to the damaged landing gear, the plane had a smashed fuselage and damage to the tail and left wing. Long was reportedly en route to Allegheny County Airport when the mishap occurred. And then it cuts out, and I can't see. The entire left side of the vehicle that got hit was crushed. Firemen were dispatched to the scene to wash away gasoline, which had spewed from the aircraft. And I'm looking at a picture, and what's amazing is all that damage. They hit all that stuff, and nobody was hospitalized. And it sure as hell didn't discourage him from flying, because that was long before I went up with him. Good God. So anyway, I want that's just a little more on that story. Oof. Let's see, what else do I have where I'm avoiding everything? Oh, I read this thing that just made me realize that I don't know. What is your sense of China? Living in China. If you lived in China, would you have the courage to say no to the government? That's not the sense I get. I think of China as a place of conformity and fear, sort of like what is happening to, to us. Keep your head down and, don't get in any trouble. But there's this story I read out of China about a family that refused to leave when the government essentially used eminent domain to take all of the homes in a certain village, a small village, and take them out because they wanted to build some kind of entertainment complex. And all the people in the village were moved. They were moved 3 miles away or something into these, out of their houses into high rises. And this one family said no, because they were being offered what they thought was not the right amount of money. And they said, we will not leave. And I thought, well, then don't you end up dead or something? No. The Chinese government came and wiped out absolutely everything around that house, including all of their trees. They had been farmers there, and it just destroyed everything, but they would not leave. Their son, who was living in a larger city out in the east of China, came home to be with them. And he got a bright idea. He said, we'll get more money for the house because they pay by square footage if we build an addition. So I'm going to build a second floor. And they thought that wasn't a bad idea. So the son built a second floor. And then he decided to build a third. And then a fourth, a fifth, a sixth. I am looking at pictures of this. It is insane. Looks like the leaning tower of who knows what, because these floors he's building are just almost like made out of, scrap, repurposed utility poles. There's cords that stretch from one to the other. I mean, it ain't in any way normal, although it is something that if you dare to climb up the ladders you have to climb up to get, you can make it up to the 9th floor. And I'm thinking, this is so unlike what I think would be allowed. And it's become a tourist attraction. I mean, people come from all over to see this absurd thing in the middle of nowhere because it is the only thing standing. And it turns out that the village that got, ripped down is no longer there, just this crazy house now. And the government has abandoned the project that they ran everybody else out of their homes for. So he said, I'd long had an amateur interest in architecture, and I wanted to challenge myself, and it felt meaningful. And he said he was also fueled by resentment toward the government, which kept giving him demolition orders and sending officials to pressure his family. And they just refused. And in fact, he has a lawsuit that he lodged against the local municipality, and that is still going through the system. So this made me think, China, what? I'm just shocked that one adamant, courageous Chinese person can stand up to that scary government. It says here he climbed lightly up the ladders, past the 5th floor reading nook and the 6th floor open air tea room. From the 9th floor, he surveyed the sturdy, standardized apartment buildings in the distance where all of his neighbors live. It says it looks a little like something Dr. Seuss might have dreamt up. But there he is, and his family defying the Chinese government, which I find delightful and was, I would say, my favorite story of the weekend. Okay, that's it. We're done, guys. Ran out of time. That's what happens. And I'll be back tomorrow with my sister Susan in tow. And maybe we'll get into some heavier stuff. I don't know. In as much as we can avoid it, I fully intend to, I think.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.